After reading the article Body Ritual Among the Nosrema, there are multiple factors that directly resemble the American culture. Some of these are the perception of the human body, the day-to-day rituals, and social class amongst people. One major point that stood out to me is the emphasis that is put on the human body, whether it be overall health or a appearance. This directly resembles American culture, as the fitness world has become a main focal point for many. The idea of self-care and well-being are regarded highly among the two cultures and hold a large influence over the population. I felt this was a very unique perspective, as a culture unrelated to ours can hold such a similar perspective on beauty. However, this is not the only comparison between the economic and social status of the Nosarema that is quite distinctive to Americans. The number of shrines depicted social wealth among the Nosarema society, whereas in the American society, this could be compared to the size of your house. As the larger the house, the larger the tax bracket. Even the day-to-day rituals are similar to Americans, as in both cultures, there's a high value placed on dental health and hygiene. However, the consequences are much higher for the Nosarama culture due to the punishment faced when not taking proper care of your teeth. All of these things discussed regard the levels of social acceptance faced through prowess, stature, and beauty. The culture that I chose to speak on today is Christianity, which is a common held faith among many Americans. Christianity is a monotheistic religion where God is the center of life. This culture is taught to believers through the teachings, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God and Savior of his people. Through this culture, people undergo many ritualistic practices such as worship services and developing communities through fellowship. Engaging in these activities creates a sense of peace and joy when assembled, as all followers aspire to live like their Savior. Fellowship is a major part of this culture, as there is a major importance placed on holding close ties with your neighbors and friends. These acts of fellowship are typically done through acts of prayer, Bible studies, and church services that reside every Sunday. Many Christians view themselves alike, as many share similar morals that are taught to them through the reading of a book called the Bible. The ethics and morals defined in this book create the compassionate and forgiving nature of many believers of this faith. Next is one of my personal favorites, which is the act of worship. This is held through many ways, such as baptisms, discipleship, prayer, and worshiping through song. Worship is a powerful motivation that unites Christians together as they praise their God. These acts reinforce the traditions that have been set in place by the works of God and in devotion to the Bible. Over time, cultures can drastically change, whether it be new ideals, new enhancements in a technology, or a change in political views. Christianity is no different from these other religions, as it itself has experienced similar change. One major change is the makeup of numerous denominations, with each denomination having its own interpretation of the Bible and varying social practices as well. The faith has also changed, as it began with teachings from the Old Testament that faced Israelites with trials and law. Among these laws were the Ten Commandments that outlined how Christians should live. These laws received minor changes during the New Testament, which first began after the birth of Jesus Christ. The New Testament provided Christians with new laws and liberties, bringing grace and forgiveness to the people. All of these things, of course, were fulfilled from the teachings from the Old Testament. I would argue that in our society there are a variety of cultures that impact one another in different ways. However, out of this mixing pot of cultures, I would say Christianity has had to be one of the biggest impacts on society as a whole. When Christianity first began, it completely altered the Western civilizations that we know today, as since the Middle Ages in Europe, the spread of Christianity has begun. This spread has greatly influenced many of the things that we enjoy today. An excerpt that I pulled from Douglas Windnell describes the numerous enhancements that a Christianity has brought through our society. This quote reads that charity Christian the charity encouraged by biblical teachings eventually blossomed into hospitals, orphanages, homes for the elderly, and care for the poor, the hungry, and the homeless. These acts done by Christ have guided the people of the Christianity to love their neighbor and always care for one another, which as a whole has become very impactful to the culture in America.